Hey everybody, this is going to be a brief video to look at Ruth 3 verse 5, and in particular to look at the Mazorah and the critical apparatus, something we haven't done much throughout the year. So when we come to Ruth 3:5, you'll see this. Vatomer eleha kol asher tomri e'eseh. We can translate that roughly as, and she said to her, all that you say, I will do. There's nothing wrong with that. That makes good sense. And so we just have Vatomer, and she said, eleha, to her. This is Ruth speaking to her mother-in-law Naomi. Kol asher tomri, all which you are saying, tomri, e'eseh, the prefix or future form of asa, I will do it. Okay, but you will see that the way we've laid this out, there are two gaps, and the gaps are what we're going to be curious about. And in particular, if you look in a printed edition, you will see vowels here, but no consonants. So to show you what I mean, well, I'll take a quick snapshot of my copy of BHS. And the photograph isn't great, but don't worry, we're going to make it work. So here's verse 5. Vatomer eleha kol asher tomri. And it continues on the next line. Vowel, vowel, e'eseh. So what's going on with that empty space? We're just going to focus on this part, and to make it easier to see, we will zoom in. You can see that we have a qere, and a patak. This is just an accent. So we'll just focus on the two vowel forms that we recognize. And what's going on, to understand what's going on, we actually have to look on the margin of our printed text, because this is going to be one of those cases where we have a ketiv, what is written, and a qere, what one is supposed to read. And the rule for a qere is that you read the vowels that are printed and you read the consonants that are over in the margin. So what vowels, what consonants are we supposed to put over top of these vowels? Well, let's zoom in again. And now we have this gap and our Masoretic margin. And you will see that the first set of consonants we get is Aleph, Lamed, Yod. And if we put into this little gap an Aleph, a Lamed, and a Yod, we get a Lai. And so we can come back up to the top and put a Lai right in here. And you can see the sense it makes. The verb amar is often followed by el, to. And she said, eleha, to her, everything that tomri, you're saying, elai, so to me, I will do. So again, we will have taken these consonants from the margin, brought them over, and imagined those consonants landing on top of the vowels that are printed in the text. The Masoretes did not want to add the extra consonants. It's the consonantal text that they want to preserve. But they're like, boy, that should really have something else there. Let's put the vowels in to remind us to say something else, and in the margin, we'll flesh it out. Now, if we come back to this Masoretic part, we just had a look at Eli. But what's all the rest of this? Well, this is pretty nifty. This says in Aramaic, Chav, Min, and then a Yod. Yod is the symbol for the number 10. If you count forward, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dal, He, Vav, then Yod is 10. So this says Chav, like Achad, one, Min, from, or one of, 10. One of 10 times in the Bible. where this particular word is qere, is read. They just give the first two letters. The lo ketiv, or the la ketiv, but not written. And again, you just get a kaf and a tav, ketiv. So this is a note, in case you were curious, that first of all, here's what you should read. I wonder how often that happens, that this particular word is left out and should be read even though it's not written. Well, here's a helpful note. This is one of the 10 times that this is read but not written. Quite remarkable to know the details to that level, especially without computers. Is stunning, deserves our admiration. So there's a little glance at a ketiv and qere situation. And I just want to look at one other thing here. And that is, we have this little Latin A. And that doesn't have to do, well, it has to do with a text critical issue. And again, to zoom out, there's our little A right there, which means in our textual apparatus at the bottom of each printed page, when we find verse 5, or in verse 5, when we go to the A, they will give us some information about what other Hebrew manuscripts have at this very point, or what other languages have. So let's put this up and show a whole page, and you can see that up here we have a little note A, it looks like that. You come down, and at the bottom you get all these textual notes, verse by verse. So we will zoom in. Here's our textual note. Verse 5, note A. Those little letters are helpful because a certain verse might have 2 or 3 different textual notes. And so they'll be labeled A, B, C, and so on. They're pretty easy to find. So they're going to tell us that right here, where they've inserted the A, and they do use Latin and some symbols, but you'll learn them very quickly, that MLT, many, multiple, MSS, many manuscripts, ut, Q, the Q stands for the qere, which means there are many Hebrew manuscripts which have what is in the qere. In other words, they actually have Aleph, Lamed, Yod in their printed text. So it's not like the witness of the various Hebrew manuscripts is unanimous. And then they have a comma, and they give this Gothic G. That's the Gothic G for the Greek, meaning the Septuagint. And when they put an asterisk beside it, it means apparently the Greek ut is as the K, the ketiv. In other words, if you look at the Septuagint translation, which was actually made long before this Hebrew text we're looking at was made, you can read the Greek and pretty clearly work backwards sometimes and say, well, I wonder if they had that little extra li or if they didn't. And here they're saying it seems like the Greek was reading from a Hebrew text that didn't have it, that is like our ketiv. With that as a very brief introduction to one pretty cool ketiv qere issue, because there's literally no consonants whatsoever. That's unusual. Hopefully now you have the tools to look at the ketiv qeres in the margins on your own and see what it was the Masoretes thought was objectionable about the printed text, what they wanted corrected, and especially to look at the wealth of information in the critical apparatus at the bottom of every Biblia Hebraicus page, because boy, they've done a lot of spade work digging through to try to find out any clues, and it can be a lot of fun. All right, that's all for this lesson.